Today, we're going to be taking a boring, flat, frankly terrible looking image like this, and without changing cameras, without changing lenses, turn it into something sweet like this. Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Josh Winiarski, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker here on YouTube as well as Instagram, and today we're going to be diving into a little bit of a new territory on this channel. We're talking about lighting. And in all honesty, this is a little bit of a sentimental topic for me. I've been doing YouTube for a while now, and I've gone through a lot of setups, and I had some pretty humble beginnings. Starting out, filming on, I believe, a Galaxy S5 in a pretty much empty room with just a black desk in there. And after years of doing that, I've slowly progressed and upgraded my setup to what it is now. What's really cool about this is you don't need to rent out some fancy studio or office. I'm just going to be using literally the corner of my bedroom, and we're still going to get some awesome professional looking results. As always, links to everything I use are going to be down in the description below, but without further ado, let's start lighting a setup. Alright, so this is what it looks like if I just set up my camera, set up a microphone, get the angle, get the composition I want, but have zero light set up in my room. In fact, when you saw the scene earlier of me just kind of vlogging in my room, I had one light set up, which helped a bunch. Right now, if I just set up a camera, which if you're wondering is a Canon 80D with a Sigma 30mm 1.4 lens on it, it looks like this, which is frankly quite terrible. So we're gonna call this step 0, and this should be pretty obvious, but the first thing I do to get my YouTube setup, the first thing you should do to have a good YouTube setup is clean up after yourself. I've got kind of clutter on these shelves. I've got a mug back there from coffee this morning. Let's clean that up a little bit before we do anything else. And we're back, so about 1 minute later, you can tell it already looks a little bit better. While we still have an extremely long ways to go, something like that should just be a no-brainer. Alright, and then step 0.5, this is another thing that should be pretty obvious. We need to set the white balance on this camera. Now, frankly, it's going to change once we get lights and everything set up, but just for having like a somewhat decent reference image, I can already tell this is way too cool, so let's warm that up a little bit. So you can do this a couple ways. It doesn't really matter too much right now because we'll probably have to tweak it again later. You can cycle through the presets. You can just set in a color temperature when your skin starts to look good, or you can actually hold out a piece of white paper, take a picture of it, and then adjust the color temperature using that reference image. Okay, so there we go. So already looking a little bit better. I don't look quite so pasty. Again, a long way to go, but here's what we started with. Here's where we're at now. So first things first, what I like to do, this is actually step 1, is set up a key light. In my case, I use a newer 480 LED panel. You can get this light on Amazon for relatively cheap. The reason I use it is it's super quick to set up, it doesn't take up much space, it's battery powered if you buy the batteries separate, and it's just overall a really good bang for your buck. So let's set that up real quick. Bam! So that's what the shot looks like if I just set up a single key light. It's already a lot better. Again, not perfect, but looking significantly better than where we started. Now, when I'm setting up a key light, I like to put it at about a 45-degree angle from myself, slightly above my head height and angled downwards. Honestly, I don't stress getting it perfect too often when I'm just shooting YouTube videos like this, because I'm moving around, I'm talking, the angle's gonna change. But if it's shooting down at you like this, it can give an overall pretty flattering look. And if you get a triangle of light sort of under your eye, that's how you know you've achieved something called Rembrandt Lighting, which typically looks pretty good. Now, you can achieve this with any light, whether it's a professional looking video light or just a lamp or something else, but as you can see right now, it's way too harsh. You can tell I'm just being blasted with light on the side of my face. So what we need to do is we need to diffuse this light. We need to soften it up. Now, there are a lot of ways to do this. You could use something like a pillowcase, you could use like tissue paper, a white shower curtain, anything we can put in front of this light to soften it a little bit. I'm actually going to be using a newer diffuser. It's something made for this light. It fits on there well, and it does a pretty good job of giving a more flattering image. So let's add that real quick. Alright, so now we've got our diffuser set up, and as you can see, this light's a lot softer, a lot more flattering. It's less obvious there's just a big patch of bright light hitting the side of my cheek. It's starting to look pretty good. Now, why this works is we're taking those 480 LEDs, and instead of blasting them right at my face, they're actually hitting the softbox first, they're diffusing, giving an overall bigger light source, and that bigger light source is going to be softer light. So when that hits me, we're not going to get those harsh shadows. I'm not going to be able to make a bunny hand shadow puppet thingy. It's just going to look a lot more flattering. And honestly, if you want, you could stop here. A really popular thing to do on YouTube for people looking for that super contrasty, punchy look is they actually just set up a key light and they call it a day. As you can see, this side of my face is lit pretty well. This side is pretty dark, giving a nice contrast. A lot of people really like this look, but personally, I like to add a little bit of a fill light. Now, what I like to do is just take another newer 480 LED panel and set it up to the side of me. I'm not too worried about diffusing it because I actually turn it up to just the bare minimum brightness. So once I've got that panel set up, I can turn it on. Now I've got an image looking like this. So you can see this side is still brighter. This just fills in this side of my face a little bit better. It still has that contrasty look, but it's nowhere near as harsh. So again, here's the fill light on, off, on, off, on. So again, you can play around with this. Maybe you like the look of the fill light, maybe you don't. That's up to you. Personally, I like it. I don't like quite as contrasty of an image. You know, we're kind of upbeat here. We like to be a happy, positive channel. We're not trying to look too edgy, too harsh, but some people really like that look. Honestly, it's completely subjective. Alternatively, if you want this look, but you don't have two lights, you can actually replicate it super easily. So if I just take my fill light and turn it off, I can actually take something as simple as a piece of paper, you know, just something white that we can bounce the light off of a little bit, and put it on this side of my face. Obviously we do it out of the shot, but you can see here's if I have no paper there. If I move it up, this light's actually bouncing off the key light, hitting the paper and filling in this side of my face. Obviously you'd have to have something to hold the paper here, but there are a lot of little budget tricks out there that can get you this same look. So again, here's holding up the paper, take it down. Okay, so right about now this is looking pretty solid. A lot of people would be totally happy with this, would be totally happy shooting a YouTube video on this. But I like to add a few more things to just really make it pop. And I'm gonna do this using 3 accent lights in the background. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna turn on a lamp I have sitting on my desk back here, just an Aki RGB touch lamp. I believe you can get one for under $30, but again, really any lamp will work. So I'm just gonna turn that on and let's see what the difference is. All right, so interesting enough, I'm actually covering up the lamp with my body, but you can still see the effects on this side of the wall. There's a little more detail back there. It's not like I'm just against a dark backdrop. It starts to look a little bit cooler. The next thing I want to do is add a contrasting color to the background. So this isn't quite orange, but it's a very warm tone back there. So I'm going to try and balance it out with some teal. To do that, I've got the Andy Cine R1 RGB LED light. I actually just did a video on this, so if you want to check it out, I'll throw a card on screen now. It's a pretty cool light. It's RGB. I'm going to set it to a teal color and add it to a shelf in the background, and let's see what the difference is. That's starting to look pretty good. So again, all I've done in the last 2 steps is turned on a lamp in the background, added a splash of color on the other side, and I am pretty happy with this result. But there is one more light I want to add, and that's just going to be an Aperture M9. I threw a warm gel on there, so we've got the teal. I want to get a little bit of orange on the shelf, so let's throw that in the background and see what it looks like. So here's the tiny little Aperture M9, got the warm gels on it, so let's toss that in the background. Alright, there you have it. So let's cycle through the 3 things we've done. So we started out with a base image that really didn't look too good. From there we added a key and fill light, and then we pretty much had a setup, but then to spice it up even more, we added accent lighting in the background to get the image you see before you. Now, if I wanted to be really nitpicky just looking at it now, I'd probably tone down the teal light a little bit. It's a little bit overpowering. So real quick, let me just do the finishing touches. So first, I'm gonna dim down that teal light. Sweet, so that's looking a little better. Next, I'm gonna fine tune that white balance one more time. Awesome, I think that's pretty close to where I want it. And lastly, I'm just gonna add a real quick color grade on top of this shot. And there you have it. So I'd say this is looking quite a bit better than where we started. So again, here's the first shot without any lights, just throwing the camera up. And we went from that to something like this. So there you have it. That's how I light my YouTube setup, and hopefully it gave you guys some good ideas on how you could light your YouTube setup. You know, there are a lot of ways to do this. different lights, different background things you can have to personalize it and make it your own, but addressing the backdrop, adding a key light, adding a fill light, throwing some color in the background is a surefire way to get something looking really good and to really boost the production value of your YouTube videos. If you're watching this, you might be a little overwhelmed, especially if you start looking at the price of really good video lights, but my suggestion is just start with a key light and go from there. Play with that, make it work, and just slowly upgrade your setup until you get it to somewhere you're happy with. Personally, I don't think mine's ever going to be done. I'm always going to be doing minor tweaks to make it look just a tad better, or I might just change it up completely. You never know. But it's something to work on. It's something that makes a huge difference. You don't have to invest a ridiculous amount of money in good cameras and super fancy lenses. Investing in just a decent lighting setup, or just learning how to make light work and bend to your will and just get the look you want, is a really budget-friendly way to increase the quality of your videos. And I believe at the beginning of this video I said I'd show you how to do a wide setup, so I'm going to apply the exact same techniques and show you what that looks like. Alright, and here's how I sort of like to set up my wide shot, which is what most of you are probably more familiar with on this channel. Admittedly, I actually don't like this as much, but it still looks good. We took the exact same steps, set up the key light, set up the fill light, added a plant in the corner to kind of balance out the monitor on this side, on top of adding just some teal color in the background to help me pop away from it. And again, these are RGB lights, so if I ever want to change up the color scheme, I can do that pretty easily. So if I wanted to go for something, again, kind of like that teal and orange background look, I can do that super fast, super easy. But let's go back to the other view. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to like it. If you have any questions, have any comments, hit up that comment section down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again for watching. My name's Josh Winiarski. Check me out on Instagram, and I'll see you all in the next one. Oh, also, if you'd want to see a lighting video like this, but maybe a budget edition, such as under $100 or under $50, or heck, I could even do one just using lighting things found around the house, such as lamps or flashlights even. If that interests you, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all next time.